my very good friend, Dr. Vinay P. Sasarbuddhe. I don't want to say former member of parliament. He has been a member of parliament in Rajya Sabha and continues to be attached. He serves the cause now by his absence, which he did by his presence. His presence was as impactful as is his absence. Shri Sunil Kumar Gupta, Secretary to Vice President of India, distinguished faculty, and my dear students. Dr. Vinay Sasarbuddhe has always exemplified any role or obligation by commitment, dedication, and excellence. I had the occasion, much before I became Governor of the State of West Bengal, to know him, and had the occasion to go to Providini also. Just imagine what kind of infrastructure, what kind of an environment. One feels spirited. And I therefore have no doubt that the 9 months you will spend there will prepare you for the rest of your life and will help you prepare other citizens similarly. And I therefore take it that you are privileged to be focusing on an area that is so vital to our democracy. India nears centenary of its independence in 2047. We are in the last quarter of the century. If we look around, in last decade or so, the economic upsurge, exponential infrastructure growth, last mile delivery to the people who concern us, Aam Aadmi, toilets, piped water, gas connection, electric connection, road connectivity, internet connectivity, health and education centers. These have created in togetherness a great challenge for democracy. Because on one hand, no nation had grown so fast in last decade as Bharat, and presently no nation is as aspirational as Bharat. We have demographic dividend that is envy of the world. And if we take it by some standards, 65% of our population is below 35 years of age, 50% being below 25 years of age, which means in abstract political terms, we have human resource that can deliver. And when you look at the writing on the wall, it's a challenge to those in governance. You have to find work for them. The youth wants work, employability, and therefore political involvement becomes quintessential. If we do not have people knowledgeable about politics, keen to be part of policy evolution, the country will not be having the kind of quantum jump it needs to have or attain Viksit Bharat status at 2047. It is good to feel glorified that we are the 5th largest global economy on way to becoming the 3rd. But to be a developed nation, which you would only study, a developed nation status is formally not defined. But you can draw the elements of a developed nation by seeing countries that are developed. And the minimal requirement for that is per capita income of every Indian has to go 8-fold. And therefore, we at the moment are having a political turmoil in the country. Constituent Assembly set high standards that politicians must come together must converge, must engage in dialogue, not disruption, must have consensual approach, not confrontation. And they managed to give us a good constitution in less than 3 years, 18 sessions, traversing some of the most contentious and divisive issues. Currently, we find our temples of democracy are dysfunctional as never before. Anything but debate and discourse happens there. The kind of scenes we saw in temples of democracy, parliament and legislature are certainly not inspirational for anyone in the country. It is here the role of your category comes, role of youth comes. You are a great, powerful pressure group. Social media has given you potency. You are in a position to engage into audit of parliamentary institutions, their functioning, performance of parliamentarians. You can show the mirror to those who, rather than engage in discharge of their solemn constitutional obligations, are engaging in standards that no parent would want her child or his child to see. That scenario has to change. And that can change only when people get involved with policy making, learn nitty-gritty of politics, because then you can ask questions. Once a temple of democracy now is a ground, अखाड़ा बन गया है, कुश्ती दंगल बन गया है. क्या कुछ देखने को नहीं मिल रहा है, क्या कुछ सुनने को नहीं मिल रहा है. मर्यादा शब्द ही लोग भूल गए हैं. गरिमा नाम की कोई चीज नहीं रही है. दुनिया की 1/6 आबादी भारत में है. हमारी सांस्कृतिक विरासत 5000 साल की है. We take pride, we are mother of democracy. We are oldest democracy. But are we justifying that claim? If I look around contemporary scenario, I am a worried man. The political climate in the country is alarmingly worrisome. Political parties have no meaningful dialogue amongst themselves. They do not deliberate on issues of nationalism, security, or development. You will find confrontational stance solidifying. Disturbance has been weaponized as a political strategy. And look at the kind of language used from all quarters, right, left, and center, that not only belittles Indian mind, but tarnishes the fair name of our civilization. It lies in the domain of young people, and particularly of the kind who show inclination as you have done, to see that at the end of the tunnel there is some ray of hope. I find young people reservoirs of talent. They are the most vital stakeholders in governance and democracy. They will drive the engine of Viksit Bharat 2047. And this they can achieve only when they are fully aware of the problems. I am concerned as Vice President of the country that the expression and dialogue, these twins fundamental to blossoming of any democratic value, are fast receding in background. People are judgmental. They have a view. I am alone right, all others are wrong, without listening to the other point of view. Policy evolution has taken place as a knee-jerk reaction. Let me remind all of you, media blitz distorts our vision. The feeling generated is momentary. It hardly has shelf-life beyond next day's headline. The real story has to be seen. And let's start from India's heart, the farm sector. Let's go to our great human resource, young people. Let's go to our global standards neighborhood. Let's focus on our security, how secure we are on the point of defense preparedness. These are issues where we cannot either duck the issue or take ostrich-like stance. These are the issues that have to be debated. No solution can emanate unless you freely express yourselves. We should handle our problems without delay. It is fundamental duty of governance to identify problems that are concerning people or class of people, farmer, labor, young people, entrepreneurs, and then analyze them, diagnose them, and have a prescription for improvement. We have talked things and we go from one to another. But we must focus on, I would say, a development that is well spread out, a development that gives us satisfaction, that gives us respect, that makes us take pride in our country. Now, issue arises, what can an individual do? And let me tell you, the major contribution in making Bharat great, Vishwaguru, for a developed nation, the key is in your hands. It is an individual's contribution that can go a long way. Let me focus. Why should we take kindly to disturbance of public order? Someone gets a notice from a lawful authority. He or she happens to be a politician. People take to streets. It is savagery. It is violation of law. It is disrespect of democratic norms. And high and mighty are doing it. Can this be allowed? Public order has to define democracy. But when there is public disorder, orchestrated for political gains, or to raise the might of an individual, that yes, he can bring about stoppage of traffic, paralyzing daily life by ravaging public order, we don't react. We take it in matter of course. Destruction of public property, stone pelting of trains, setting fire to government buildings. Where are we heading? Society has to rise in unison to name and shame these people. The system has to work in a manner to hold them accountable and penalize them fiscally also. A nation has to be defined by discipline. Every individual can do that. What I am suggesting is that while our rise is meteoric, global institutions are accommodating us. We should not be carried away, because there are issues we have to address. There are loose ends that have to be tied. If we fail to that, the fragility which is there may be exposed, and therefore we have to be extremely alert as individuals. You would have seen these days avalanche of information and misinformation. Narratives are being built. Because of technology, world has shrinked, not physically but otherwise. And therefore it takes no time for forces inimical to our interests, whose strategy is to destroy our nationalism. They can converge easily. And therefore every young man has to perform his or her duty. We need trained people in policy making. We need trained people who know politics. It is not easy to hold government accountable. The only way to hold government accountable is through the platform of legislature. And mind you, when you hold government accountable, you are helping the government. Anyone would like to improve, but someone has to tell him or her that these are the areas of concern where you need improvement. It is something like you go to a doctor, you feel you are fit, but doctor can tell you are not fit. You have to focus on certain areas. And therefore my earnest appeal to the young people of this country, it is your time. You are the driving force. You are restive. You are in restlessness. You have to find a way. Fortunately, India offers a very rich basket of opportunities for the youth. The government has taken initiatives by way of proactive policies to handhold you. It is fundamental role of politicians and those engaged with politics. And don't mistake these two words for representatives of the people. You can be in politics without being a representative. To make people aware that perform your duties above your rights. To make people aware that you can generate employment. Startups, look at the, I would say, fabric of startups. Most of them now are coming up in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, catering to local requirements. When genius of Indian mind is unbeatable globally, let us not fail. Vinay Sahasrabudhe knows more than I do that we have a fundamental right in the country, and the right is we can access judiciary. It's a fundamental right. But in last few decades, access to judiciary has been weaponized. It has been weaponized to a level, it is posing a great challenge to our governance, our democratic values. Day in and day out, you'll find advisories emanating, executive functions being performed by bodies that have no jurisdictional or jurisprudential authority or competence to perform those actions. To put it in layman's language, a Tahsildar can never record an FIR, howsoever strongly he may feel. Because our Constitution ordains institutions have to work within their own domain. Are they working? I'll answer for you, no. Institutions are yielding ground to other institutions, and that is being done out of expediency. These placatory mechanisms may result in short-term gain, but they cause incalculable spinal damage in the long run. And therefore I urge you, you have to think. Once you think, connect with the people. Make them aware. No nation is as rich in human resource as Bharat. But we have to audit ourselves. We can't rest on laurels that are superficial. We have to go to the basics. Space, economy. Our ISRO is doing wonders. But look at our share in space economy. It must at least match our demographic component. Blue economy, patents, parliament, politics define our nation's growth. They motivate and inspire people to go to the next level in research and development. They provide leadership to corporates. They promote economic nationalism. But right now, all I can say is, since I occupy a chairman Rajya Sabha, I see all these problems, and they are before me. Talented people not performing. You must have some tough questions of research. I'll give you 3, rest you consider. 1, why should there be whip? Whip means you are curtailing expression. You are curtailing freedom. You are subjecting a representative to servility. You don't allow such a person to use his or her mind. Examine whether US has whip or not. Find out in last 10 years how decisions of Senate have been influenced by persuasion. But when you issue a whip, there is no persuasion. To persuade whom? Chaos, disruption, disturbance, and the kind is remote controlled in the house. They step in the temple with firm determination to carry out a command that this day is a day of dysfunction in the parliament or legislature. Examine it. Political parties are supposed to promote democracy. But do the elected representatives have the freedom of expression? Whip comes in the way. Number 2, think for a while. A representative can vote for the president, for the vice president, keeping his vote secret. But such a person, member of the assembly, cannot keep his vote secret while voting for election of a Rajya Sabha member. Why? Nominated members, 12 in number, can vote for the election of vice president, but not for the president. And the justification is on quicksand. The GS president appoints them. But the situation went under big change. The president under constitution is now ordained to exactly do what the council of ministers does. So where's the difference? Examine what is happening in other countries also. This is very, very important. I wouldn't give you more homework because Vinay Sasir Buddhaji is hard taskmaster. But I must express my one gratefulness to him. It is because of him that I pronounce Sasir Buddhe. Otherwise, in Three Idiots, it would have been difficult for me to pronounce the professor's name. Thank you so much for your presence.